All right, welcome to Economic and Sports Programming Network. I'm your host, Goldblatt, alongside my co-host, Parker Casper. We're here today to tell you about the economics in the sports world, specifically soccer. To start out, Lionel Messi of Barcelona has become frictionally unemployed. He has been released on a free transfer. They have canceled his contract, but as you know, he is just in between jobs. I'm sure he'll find one soon, which is the definition of frictional unemployment. When someone is in between jobs, currently without a job. Parker, what do you have for us?
Well, I think a lot of players are going through the same issue with them having trouble with their club. I think a lot of good players today in the Barclays League are going to have this issue sooner or later. Just example, real quick. Wayne Rooney, he's been going down. Van Gaal, the whole team, they didn't meet their goals this season. Hopefully they will with the FA Cup this next weekend, but they finished fourth in the BPL this year. Rooney, going up in his career, early in his career, up into 2007, he was on expansion. Around 2007 to 2009, he definitely peaked. He was scoring about 35 goals in a season. He was doing very, very well for himself, but unfortunately, in the past few years, he's definitely been on recession. And I'd say right now he's fairly well in a trough. He's been there for a couple seasons now, but maybe with Van Gaal changing up, new manager coming in, we can see a re-expansion coming through in the next couple seasons. But honestly, I think I could see Rooney going into being frictionally unemployed in the next couple years.
Yeah, I can see that too. Unfortunately, he hasn't just cut the bill for Manchester United this year. They've needed goal scorers, and he has not provided that. But the good news is for Manchester United, they are in a budget surplus. They have lots of money to spend this summer on new players after the sale of Angel Di Maria last summer, bringing in 55 million British pounds. What a transfer that was. They're going to have tons of money to spend. They are positive. As compared to Real Madrid, who has just bought another massive player. Gareth Bale has been confirmed in for 80 million pounds. That's 80 million down the drain. That looks like a budget deficit to me. They're spending a lot more than they're bringing in, as opposed to Manchester United, who is bringing in a lot more than they're spending, contributing to their budget surplus. What do you have on this, Parker?
Well, I think Manchester United's newest pickup, very young player, Rashford. I think he's going to do a lot for the club. Picked him up for fairly cheap. Rashford actually recently had to make a choice between Liverpool and he selected Manchester United, obviously. So his opportunity cost. He didn't get to go play with Liverpool, and as great of a club that is, he had to go with the superpower, third most expensive team in the world, Manchester United. Personal favorite of mine. I love his decision, but I'd be very curious to see how that would have turned out if he would have gone to Liverpool instead.
Yeah, me too. I think it would have been a major move for his career, but I think he'll succeed in Manchester, and I think he'll do good. In other news, though, we have just heard of a trade-off in form of a barter economy. Paris Saint-Germain's Zlatan Ibrahimovic has been included in a swap deal for AC Milan's Carlos Bacca. Ibrahimovic is now being in a trade-off. That is a complete trade-off and a form of a barter economy, swapping two goods for one another, no form of money. Isn't that how most economies started originally, Parker?
Yeah, I believe it is. I think a lot of clubs are going to start doing this instead of just paying straight up for players. I think they're going to start trading more. A lot of clubs are just purchasing off the transfer market, which, as you mentioned earlier, like Ronaldo, it is causing a budget deficit for clubs. I think they're going to start getting smarter with that and just using trades instead.
That's what I think too. That is a shocking deal. Zlatan Ibrahimovic making his return to Milan. And also, we have to look at Real Madrid, who we said earlier was spending a lot of money, but they are in a deficit, but they still do bring in a lot of money. They have generated much revenue over the past few seasons, and we can say that since they have a lot of money, they aren't settling for the inferior goods. Isn't that right?
Absolutely not. No, they're getting the best of the best. They're keeping their superpower in La Liga. They're staying up there with Barcelona, Atletico, and they're keeping their name up there. They're not going to settle for less than par.
Yeah, we're hearing rumors that due to this influx of income, they are actually now targeting Nicholas Bentner as opposed to Lionel Messi, who was just released on a free transfer. That would be a much bigger asset than Messi. Bentner, who is the much better good as opposed to Messi, the inferior good, should be brought into the club because they have higher income. So we'll have to see where that takes us.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing, did you hear about the new switching of a couple teams? I believe Tottenham is switching off of Under Armour, thinking that they might be able to get a little more revenue switching to Nike or Adidas.
Oh,
But
wow.
I think that trade-off and that competition, that pure competition going on between companies, is really going to help with several teams and their revenue for the next couple of years, keeping up the money, the influx of money to acquire new players. Like you said, possibly picking up Messi, possibly picking up another player that's gone up on the market.
Yeah, that's what I think. All these companies are just big oligopolies, and they're competing with one another to get the best out of these teams. They have lots of money. They compete with each other every new year. We see new products, new innovations coming out. Competition between 4 or 5 major kit dealers like Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, Puma, and Umbro have really vitalized the soccer industry in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of money in today's game, I think we're going to cut over to our capitalism analyst, Keith Allen, to give us a look at Leicester's, or Leicester as they call it, their financial standings for this year and their squad in general.
All right.
Hi guys, I'm Keith Allen, economic analyst over at Espn Studios. Today I got for you capitalism and jersey sales. So as we all know, Leicester City won the BPL with 5,001 odds to win. That's insane. If you put $5 down on them winning, that's $25,000 in the bank. Nothing like this has ever been seen before, which has resulted in jersey sales of theirs growing. Demand has grown so high that their prices and their jersey sales have actually quadrupled in the last 6 months. As you can see on this supply and demand graph, as the demand went up, so did the price and the quantity, and that resulted in a right shift of the demand curve. Now, Leicester City's whole team has been paid collectively $54 million. Now, you might think that's a lot, but to put that into perspective, Manchester City, one of the most talented teams in the world, has paid one player on their team $54 million this year alone. That means that Leicester City has very undervalued players, but that also is an example of capitalism at its finest. The teams with the most money don't always win. It's about how you employ your resources. Now on to Rogan Goldblatt, who had just caught up with Real Madrid this past week and with Cristiano Ronaldo and Karim Benzema. Rogan. This well-known football club has allowed a member of the Economics and Sports Programming Network to follow the team on its day-to-day schedule to give you, the fans, an inside scoop as to how this team works.
Hello, I'm Rogan Goldblatt, documenting the life and workings of well-known club Real Madrid. Here we have star forward Cristiano Ronaldo to talk about what he's doing today at practice. Cristiano, many people say you are one of the best soccer players in the whole world. How did your team get to be so good?
Well, I'm very good at what I do, like really good. And because I'm so good, I can beat the defenders and pretty much put the ball in the goal whenever I want. In economic terms, I'm an investment that's very well paid off, Rogan.
Without a doubt, very well paid off. There are plenty of players in the world that are incredible. What do you think makes Real Madrid better, though?
Well, we simply have more money than other clubs, which means we have more capital to afford players that are not inferior goods. We get the cream of the crop and settle for nothing less. Essentially, there's a very high aggregate demand for players that are as good as I am, and a very low aggregate supply. Because we have more money, we can afford the people like me that are better than the rest of the competition.
I see Madrid as the best because they have a budget surplus, or the largest positive balance after expenditures are subtracted from revenues. Would you mind showing me some of your skills since you are so good?
Absolutely.
I'm here with another Real Madrid forward, Karim Benzema. He's also one of the best in the world, and he's here to talk to me about the team and what he loves to do outside of soccer. I've heard you're somewhat of a scholar off the pitch, Karim.
Well, I wouldn't quite say scholar, but I like to study my fair share of economics.
And why is that?
Well, you see, it's very applicable to today's football. And not many people realize it, but for example, you can see here that our jerseys are made by Adidas, and they're an oligopoly competing with Nike, Puma, and a select few others, but not many small companies can enter the equipment game today.
Which of those brands is your favorite?
Definitely Adidas.
How much are you getting paid to say that?
Much more than you'll make this year.
Well, I wouldn't exactly think that, but okay. You are French. Do you think your childhood or your training as a young man in France has influenced your play today?
Oh, definitely, of course. Growing up in France, you're always taught to press your defender and beat him one-on-one. Because of this, France has an absolute advantage in production of strikers compared to the likes of England, Germany, and Italy. Here in this production's possibility graph I have here, you can see that just France has an overall better advantage over England in producing strikers. Now, and then the supply and demand graph, you can see that because the weather in France allows us strikers to develop a lot better and a lot more of us than England, you can see that as the supply of us increases, the price goes down and the quantity goes up because teams can afford more of us because there's so many great strikers out there from France.
Well, Karim, thank you for your time. I see your practice is about to start, so you better get out there. Cristiano, what happened out there? It looks like you're the victim of a pretty hard tackle.
Yeah, Pepe came in hot. We were doing some defensive drills. Couldn't get over him fast enough, landed wrong on my ankle, twisted it up pretty badly. Trainer says I'll be out for the match this week against Barcelona. I'm not too upset that I'm injured. It happens. It's a risk I run playing the sport, but what I really feel bad for is the fans. See, it's a negative externality for the fans because now the supply of players has decreased to 10 instead of 11. Thus, the quantity's gone down and price will go up per player that they're paying to see. So they're having to pay this increased price here for the game. So really, it's a burden that falls on the consumer, not as much me, and I feel bad about that.
All right, guys, I'm Keith Allen.
I'm Parker Casper.
And I'm Rogan Goldblatt, and thank you for tuning into this edition of Economic Sports Programming Network's Special with Real Madrid.
See you next time.